Welcome, Admirals. We'll be talking about carrier strikes in WarPlan Pacific. So, what I've done is I've set up a bunch of different scenarios, and we're going to look and see how this all plays out. So, I've got different saves here. I'm not going to go through them all. Um, let's try this one, and midway equal. Okay, it means that basically the ships are set up so that they are um, equal in strength. So let's take a look at what's going on here. All right, and it's impossible to set up a an early year midway type battle, because what you have is in midway you've got, they put almost as many aircraft on the island of Midway as they have carriers um, waiting for the Japanese. All right. So here's our American task force. Okay, we have 4 carriers, battleships, cruisers, and a cruiser and a destroyer squadron. Okay, which is going to be pretty much the same as the Japanese. Okay. In actuality, in Midway, the Americans mostly had cruisers. They had no battleships. They had cruisers and destroyers. All right, so here we are. Here's a Japanese, and we see we have 4 carriers. Like I say, this is an equal battle. All right, and they have 2 battleships and cruisers and destroyers. So we've got essentially the same forces playing each other, fighting against each other. All right. The range of the aircraft is 3. So we know that the American aircraft is here. We want to prompt a carrier strike. 1, 2, 3. So we're going to move into here and let's see what happens. And we get a carrier strike. Okay. Now, okay. Notice how the battleship, the Japanese battleship, gets hit for 2 on this. Okay. Let's take a look at the actual report. That's not going to be right. Okay, so let's see what's going on here. Okay, well, that's a surprising result. Okay, with both let's verify that with both carriers, both sides losing a carrier. Okay, probably fairly realistic. Okay, let's take a look at the report one more time. Okay. Okay, so the attacker here is the American carriers. Okay, and they lose 5 squadrons. Well, let's see. These things are always hard to figure out. The Yorktown and the Enterprise lose 3 squadrons. Okay, and this battle ship here, battle cruiser, it loses. They put 2 squadrons, but these are float planes, basically seaplanes. All right. So even though they sink the Akage, it looks like the Americans took much more losses in aircraft. Okay. All right. So now let's do another attack. All right. I mean, I'm the Japanese admiral. Okay, I look at my forces. I've lost 1 carrier, and I've had a battle cruiser hit pretty badly, and I've sunk 1 of their carriers as well. So I'm in this fight. Okay, these carrier versus carrier battles. These are tough battles, and normally you're going to see 2 strikes. Okay, so on we go. and we get another. We put the second strike in there. All right, so let's take a look at what that report is. Okay, carrier combat, and now the Lexington is sunk. All right. All right. So let's take a look at what these guys look like. And once again, the Americans struck another battleship. All right, so I'm just going to tell you right off the bat that that is not a good simulation. Okay, in carrier versus carrier battles, the guys, everybody realize that the ship that you want to sink is the aircraft carrier. That's the centerpiece. Okay, that's what these are all about, is sinking the other guy's carriers. So why would you attack battleships? Okay, so I don't agree with this. That's four hits of damage that should have been put up here. Okay, 4 hits of damage that should have been put up there. Let's think about Midway. Okay, here you have all these torpedo bombers, and they're American torpedo bombers, and they're coming in at the Japanese fleet. Okay, and they're going through the escorts and pickets that are placed out in front of the carriers. And what happens? They don't attack battleships. They don't attack cruisers. They don't attack destroyers. No, they're headed straight for those aircraft carriers. Okay? And they're taking an amazing amount of anti-aircraft fire, and Japanese Zeros are attacking them at the same time. Okay? And one squadron gets totally wiped out. And I mean, they suffer horrendous amount of losses. Okay? Why? Because they were all headed for the aircraft carriers. Okay? And to get there, you had to go through your pickets, and you had to go through the fighters, and that's why they all get beat up. All right? So let's remember, okay, that first attack goes into the Japanese, and it's the torpedo bombers, and all the Zeros go after them. Okay? And then what happens? So all the Zeros are over here, killing off all these. It was a very piecemeal attack by the Americans. Now they all move to another position here, and they're knocking off all these other torpedo bombers. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, appears a whole bunch of American dive bombers, right? And the dive bombers come down, and what do? They strike 3 carriers. Okay, and a lot of people go, "Oh man, that's so lucky. That's so lucky." That's not luck. Let's change it around. Let's put it in. Let's put the Americans in that position. Okay. Okay. So when an aircraft is flying from one carrier to another, okay, they're going to go up at least at like 10,000 feet. They want cruise. They go to a cruise altitude, hopefully to have the wind at their back, maybe to put the sun at their back when they attack. But they're going up there. They're up high, and they want to find the carrier. Okay, we want to make sure that they see the carriers, and then they're going to make an attack. Okay. Okay. So let's say let's say that in this case, we have the Japanese are attacking the Americans, okay, and you got all these torpedo bombers are coming in first, right? And then after as they're attacking, then a whole bunch of dive bombers are going to come from the other side and catch us completely by surprise, right? Wrong. Okay, the Americans have radar, okay, and they can see out for quite a long distance. So the Americans see the torpedo bombers and over here, and the dive bombers over here. Okay, they don't know what is what, but they can see the airplanes coming in. So they don't send all their fighters to one side. They split their fighters up, and they have time to maneuver their ships so as to put as many of their picket ships in between them and the aircraft carriers at the same time. Okay? What is the result? It's they don't sink all the American carriers, okay? There is no surprise because the American carriers have radar, okay? That needs to be understood. The only one who could have been surprised at the Battle of Midway were the Japanese because they had no radar. Okay, so let's go and take a look at the Americans over here. Okay, so what we can see here is that we've lost 2 carriers to their 1. Okay, and we were at even. I'm gonna take this off. We were at even for each carriers each. Let's take a look here. Okay, so we have them spotted. All right, and now what we see. I'm gonna give them some fuel here. And now what we can see is that, look at that. None of our support ships were attacked. None of our support ships were attacked. It was our carriers that were attacked. Okay? Our carriers were attacked. And, okay, and they sunk 2 of ours, and we sunk 1 of theirs. Okay? So I'm in that position, and I say, that's it. I can't go on. All right, and I run away from this battle. So let's switch back again. So remember, where are we? There we go. So here's the Japanese, and they've got 3 carriers, untouched. Okay. We've lost 2 carriers. We're silly to continue this fight, so we run away. Okay, so let's end that, and let's try another one. Okay. All right. So this time let's try a different setup. Okay. And that's very important to understand. That the Americans had a huge advantage. Now the Japanese pilots are like the best naval aviators around. Okay? But the Americans have radar. So they can see what the heck is going on, and they can vector their aircraft. And another thing that people don't understand is that it just wasn't fighter planes fighting fighter planes. Okay, two aircraft carriers launch, 2 groups of aircraft carriers launch strikes against each other. Okay, so you're gonna have fighter planes in there in the mix and all that, and then they strike, and then they come back. Okay, as you see in the Battle of Coral Sea, and now guess what happens? You have air combat happening there because they're passing right by each other. Okay, and you have people firing at each other and this and that. You have the American dive bombers, for example, attacking their bombers. This is a brawl, eh? This is a brawl, and this is why so many aircraft were lost in these battles. All right, so now what I did was, okay, sorry about that. Okay, now what I've done is they have 4 carriers again, but this time I've given them battleships. Okay, they have all battleships. And should that make a difference? Well, the Lexington, for example, has 4 anti-air. The Japanese aircraft carriers have 3 anti-air. All right, so all my aircraft carriers have 4. And all my battleships here, I believe, also have 4 anti-air. Let's see if that makes a difference. Okay? Let's see if that makes a difference. All right, so let's go to the Japanese side. Okay. Here's the Japanese. Okay, so the Japanese are going to move within 3 so that they can attack Midway. 1, 2, 3. So they're going to come in here. Okay. And notice I've left the same basic composition as the Japanese had at Midway. Okay. They have battleships, a lot of cruiser. They had a lot of they had a number of battleships, a lot of cruisers, a lot more cruisers than the Americans, and destroyers. All right. So now let's go to the other side. And now this time it's going to be me who's going to be making the attack. Okay. It's going to be the Americans making the attack. Okay. So let's see how that works out. Remember, these guys are heavy. They have all battleships. They have tons of anti-aircraft. Okay, remember, 1, 2, 3. We're going to engage at long range. Here, let me see here. Okay, but look. Okay, I have a comment. I have a comment station put here. Okay, and sure enough, I see that there's 2 battleships there, or 4 CVs, which is most important. Okay, so I'm going to move in here. So I know what I'm facing, and I know where they are. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to move in, and we're going to see the attack. Okay. And so let's take a. So what happened there? We lost a battleship. We lost 2 battleships, I think. Let's take a look at the report. We lost 2 battleships, and we sunk the Akagi. Okay, and once again, this like I say, this just isn't correct. Okay, it's just not correct, because you're not going. The Japanese are not going to attack their battleships, even though there's all of these guys around. They're going to try to kill the carriers. It's the carriers that are the key here, and both the Japanese and the Americans know that. And I don't know. I think it was shown in a movie a long time ago. I don't know if you've ever seen it, about Midway. Okay, and there's the admiral, and he's talking to the air crew before they launch, and he says, kill the CVs, kill the CVs. So I mean, and this is the mentality these guys have. All right, kill the CVs. So I don't know if I like that so much. All right, let's and you see, we actually did some good damage on their aircraft. Okay, so it was the Japanese who started the fight. Okay, and as I understand, what happens in these airstrikes is that they are always considered to be simultaneous. Okay, simultaneous strikes. Okay, so I have sunk an aircraft carrier. Let's take a look at my situation. Okay, and I've only lost 1 squadron from each of these carriers. So, and I've got 4 carriers. So what does that tell me? I need to strike again. Okay, so I'm going to strike again. And sure enough, I think I sunk another carrier. Carrier battle, and the Soryu is sunk. Okay. Interesting result. That's what I would expect. But to tell you quite honestly, that should be 2 and 2. Okay, it should be 2 and 2. All right, I'm going to set up another one here. right now, I'm getting some. Actually, I'm getting some pretty good scores for the Americans. The Americans are getting good rolls. I have done these carrier battles, these setups. I don't know, probably almost 100 times. Okay, and I would say at least 90% of the time, the Japanese just roll over the Americans. Okay, so let's try another one. This is called the Gorilla one. And what I did here is that I put 20 ships in the American fleet. Okay, 20 ships in the American fleet. They've got 4 carriers, and so sorry about this again. So what you see here is, I mean, we've even got damaged ships here. You know, I put everything I could basically in there. You get 20, and they've had 4 carriers. All right. So let's switch turn here and see what's going on in the other side. Okay. Okay, and this time I've given the Japanese 6 aircraft carriers. All right, they have 6 aircraft carriers. I think they have 15. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes, 9 and 6. Okay, so they have 15 and 6 aircraft carriers, and I have 20 with 4 aircraft carriers. So let's see what happens here. Okay, once again, I believe they're down here. So 1, 2, 3. Let's see here. We need to be 1, 3 away, right? So let's go in and let's see what happens. And we have a battle, and the Soryu takes some damage. They all lost 1 squadron's worth of aircraft. Okay, not so bad. Let's go there. Okay, and there you go. All right, and they say the defending carriers get an ambush, and this is predicated on, you know, a repetition of, as I said, of Midway, in which you're caught by surprise. But the Americans aren't going to be caught by surprise. Okay, they're going to see what's happening. They may not react to it. Okay, and that may, because we're 6 versus 4, that may say, okay, they pull it off. They pull off a surprise. But the Americans are going to know what's coming. Okay, notice we lost the Yorktown, Saratoga. All right, so now let's see what happens. Okay, and you see they know exactly how many is there. Okay, now this is the thing that really irritates me. Okay. How do they not find the fleet in their attack? How does that happen? That just doesn't happen in carrier warfare, guys. I mean, I was in the Navy. I flew off aircraft carriers as a bombardier navigator and A6 intruders. We did tons of war at sea exercises versus carriers and surface action groups, and I can relate very much to what's going on when you look back at Coral Sea and all this stuff. And these guys have just had 2 air attacks. Okay, they just attacked each other. Okay, and so now you've got 6 aircraft carriers launching airplanes, plus you have battleships and cruisers who have seaplanes. Okay, there's just absolutely no way that the carrier doesn't find another carrier group. Okay, I really do not like that simulation. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough for submarines. Fair enough for ships without aircraft carriers. But aircraft carriers, if somebody comes within 3 striking range of you, then you should know that they're there. And you should not miss a strike like that. Okay? Let me show you something here. Okay, we're the Japanese, right? All right. Let's. I know they're the designer's trying to do fog of war and all this, and I like the concept. Okay, it's a really good concept, but I think in the case of carriers, it needs to be changed. Okay, because he's kind of trying to do a the search phase. He's trying to duplicate kind of like the search phase where they're each sending, searching for the others. Okay, but once we've had once we've swapped strikes, okay, there ain't no way that when that you refuel and rearm and you launch every airplane that's serviceable that you can launch, okay, ain't no way that you're not going to find the other carrier group. Okay, it's just not going to happen. All right. Now, let's. I just want to show you something here. So look, here's the Japanese over here. Okay. So we know how land warfare works, right? That's a level bomber. Has a range of 10. Okay. All right, and we can see all the strikes here. We can see all the places he can strike. Okay. All right. Now, but let's look at this guy here. All right. Who is that guy? We don't know who that guy is. Okay? But I can still launch an airstrike. I don't know if I made it, did I do any damage? Let's see here. Ground strike. Didn't do any damage. Okay. So let's do another one, shall we? Let's try this airfield. Okay? Let's try the airfield. Yeah, he's in support. Let's try the airfield. Let's do. Okay. So that's kind of like one carrier attacking the other carrier. Okay. See what I'm saying? And what happened was there was 2 and 2 there, I believe. Wrong place. Airfield strike. Okay. So there you go. They traded aircraft being destroyed. All right, so I'm going to switch over. Now I want to show you another thing. Okay, so now we're at the Americans. And I want to show you something here. Okay, so here I've got this fleet over here. Okay. Let's come down here. Okay, now there's an airfield. All right. He's on an island. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me go up a bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, so I send that surface action group to that position. 10 hexes away. All right, now let's swap ends. And let's see what happens here. Okay. Let's come back over here. Oh, and look at there. Look at there. There is a fleet. there's something there. What is it? 6 ships. Okay. Okay. So in other words, this guy who's a ground-based bomber, level bomber, 10 range, at 10 strength, and I have tried this numerous times. 100% detection. 100% detection. Any ship that comes close to this aircraft is going to be spotted, and so you better know that if you're playing the game, because the rules are different. Okay, for ground-based against ships, and it's almost like it's the same rules. It's the same rules for the ground combat. Okay, you moved into my 10 hex range, and so therefore I found you. Okay, and I can launch. Let's see. I can launch an attack on you. Okay, and another one. Okay. So I think that there needs to be a little bit of a change here, and what I would recommend is that, personally, my own, I know it's not my game. Okay, gotta live by the rules of the game, but I think when I watch when I play these battles, okay, what I'm seeing is that 90% of the times the Japanese just knock the snot out of the Americans, even if it's just four carriers on 4 carriers. Okay, and I guess that they are basing this on the fact that the Japanese pilots are so much better, but in countering that is that the Americans have radar, so that when they attack, the Americans know they're going to attack, and so it almost cancels out. You see what I mean? But in this case, what we're seeing is that the Japanese are getting really what I would consider more damage than that they should be getting. Okay, we didn't see it in this video, but because I was lucky. But I can't tell you how many times I fought these battles, and the Japanese will just wipe out all the aircraft carriers, okay, of the Americans, or at least 2. They'll get at least 2. Okay, and meanwhile, my guys attack their battleships. Okay, so that's the first thing. Is that I think that the carriers are a little bit out of balance here. Yes, the Japanese are better you and yes, they should perform better. Okay, but it's canceled out. But they're not. Some people describe them as the best carrier pilots at the war at this time, and that's true. Okay, but that gets canceled out a bit by the fact that I know where you're coming from, and I can vector all of my airplanes and go intercept you. Okay? So that's the first thing. Okay, is that I think that the Japanese are a little bit overpowered. And second thing is that I think that this guy here, okay, he needs to be able to see, just like that land-based bomber, he needs to be able to see everything within a 3 hex circle, because he's got airplanes. Okay, and I really would recommend that. There shouldn't be any I don't know what's over here when 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 a ship shows up. Okay, I may not know what their midway island is over here, but I'm certainly going to know if a carrier group shows up within three within my range, because I'm launching all kinds of airplanes continuously, and I'm not only launching, I'm not launching fighter planes either. I'm launching seaplanes. I'm launching bombers without bombs. Okay, and they have a lot more distance. They have a lot more distance they can go to search. So although the strike distance is 3, those aircraft can actually go a lot further. You take an American, you take a Japanese torpedo bomber, for example. Okay, that torpedo weighs what, 2,000 pounds? Take that torpedo off of that plane. Okay, and now what happens? Well, first of all, it doesn't have to carry that 2,000 pound torpedo, and you're not going to have the torpedo in the air causing friction, which will which causes the airplane to burn a lot more gas than if the torpedo wasn't on it. Okay, so the torpedo aircraft, which can normally, when it's loaded up and it's going to go launch a strike, its range is 3. But you take that torpedo off, and all of a sudden now this aircraft can climb up, and it can go a lot farther. I mean, a lot farther. So again, what I would recommend is, with the exception of submarines, is that there should never be a situation, and this happens all the time, when I run into a carrier and I don't see him there. See there? That should never happen. All right? Sorry, but it shouldn't happen. Okay, so I think that pretty much wraps up what I wanted to present. I'm loving the game, actually, and I just and what I'm seeing is, I'm seeing a lot of folks talking, a lot of folks. There's a lot of threads in the Matrix forums about aircraft carriers and so forth, and how they work, and this and that, and how the Americans really can't simulate anything that happens basically in 1942. So there is no Coral Sea, there is no Midway, and there's reason for that, because the Japanese are going to start off with 9 aircraft carriers, and the Americans have 4. So if Coral Sea doesn't happen, then the Japanese main fleet has 6 carriers, and there's no way that with your 4 carriers you're going to, you may come out and trade, but in the end you're going to lose in that trade. All right. So I hope you found that interesting. I don't know if you found that interesting or not. I don't know if you agree with me or not, but I think that there's a couple things that need to be a little bit tweaked there, and so there's 3 things. Okay, so one is the detection range of the carriers. The second is the air attacks. Okay, between 2 carrier groups should be only aimed at the carriers. Okay, not at battleships, not at cruisers. And let me see. And the third thing was the search range, right? So let's see, search range, who they attack, and the fact that the Japanese, I believe, are a little bit overpowered because the Americans have radar and are therefore able to respond a little bit better. So I think those 3 things could be addressed a little bit better. It's my opinion. I'm not a developer. I have no idea how to program. I still like the game. It makes it tougher for the Americans, but that's cool. Um, anyway, hope you enjoyed the video, and until the next time, y'all stay safe. Safe, safe, safe. Y'all stay safe.